how America fell in love with Alex Eala, and why the best is still coming. There is a moment that changes everything for an athlete. A single moment where an entire country suddenly stops and notices them for the very first time. And for Alex Eala, that moment did not happen overnight. It happened in layers, starting quietly in March at Indian Wells and exploding into something completely impossible to ignore by the time Wimbledon rolled around. And today we're going to walk through exactly how America fell in love with a 21-year-old tennis player from Quezon City, Philippines. Because this is not just a feel-good story. This is a documented, traceable rise that you can actually watch happen in real time if you know where to look. And once you see it, you will understand why broadcasters, fans, and even rival players are suddenly paying very close attention to everything Alex Eala does next. So stay with me, because this story is one that deserves to be told in full, and by the end of this video you're going to see exactly why so many people believe the best is still ahead of her. Let us start at the beginning, because the roots of this American love affair go back further than most people realize. When Alex made her Indian Wells debut back in March of this year, she did not walk into that tournament as some unknown wild card hoping to make a little noise and slip back home quietly. She walked in as a player who was already building a real reputation. And what happened next genuinely surprised a lot of people who were not yet paying attention. She did not come alone. Not in the sense of having a small, quiet crowd trailing her around the outer courts. She arrived to a genuinely passionate fan base. And this fan base was concentrated in Southern California, specifically Los Angeles, which, if you know anything about demographics, is home to one of the largest Filipino communities anywhere outside the Philippines itself. Think about what that means for a second. This is not a manufactured storyline. This is not a marketing team sitting in a boardroom deciding to push a narrative in a certain direction. This is an organic community of real people who already had a deep personal connection to Alex through heritage, through pride, through simply wanting to see someone who looks like them and comes from where their families come from succeed on one of the biggest stages in tennis. And when she showed up at Indian Wells, that community showed up too, filling sections of the stands with flags and cheers and an energy that tournament organizers simply do not usually see for a player outside the top 20. That was the seed. That was the moment the story truly started. But seeds need time to grow. And for the next few months, Alex kept doing exactly what she does best. She kept grinding. She kept improving. And she kept quietly building the resume that would eventually force the rest of America to sit up and notice her too. Fast forward to the grass court season, and this is where things start accelerating in a way that nobody, not even her most devoted and long-standing fans, could have fully predicted. Wimbledon 2026 arrives, and for the first time in her career, Alex walks onto that famous lawn as a seeded player, the 29th seed to be exact. And just stepping onto Wimbledon grounds as a seed is already historic, because she becomes the very first Filipina ever to be seeded at the tournament. But seeding is one thing, and actually performing is an entirely different matter. And Alex did not just show up to collect a nice statistic next to her name and move on. She went out and delivered one of the most electric runs of the entire tournament. Her first-round match against Mexico's Renata Zarazua set the tone immediately. She dismantled her opponent 6-1-6-2 in just over an hour, hitting 22 winners and going 16 for 21 at the net. It was an aggressive, confident, borderline dominant performance that sent a very clear signal to everyone watching that she was not there just to participate. She was there to genuinely compete at the highest level. And here is a detail that connects directly back to her growing American following. In the build-up to Wimbledon, Alex had actually been sharpening her grass court game by partnering with Venus Williams in doubles at the Bad Homburg Open, training and playing alongside a 5-time Wimbledon singles champion. And that tells you something very important about the level of respect she has already earned within the sport, because legends simply do not partner with just anybody. So she carried that grass court sharpness into the tournament, and the wins kept coming round after round until we arrived at the match that truly changed absolutely everything. The third-round matchup against defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek. Now, let us be completely honest with each other for a moment. Going into that match, most neutral observers expected the defending champion to handle her business and move on comfortably. That is simply how these things usually go. A lower-ranked player facing the reigning champion on the biggest stage in tennis rarely ends with an upset. But Alex did not read that script. And what she did on that court is exactly the kind of performance that gets replayed and talked about for years. She took down Iga Swiatek, and the win itself was massive. But it was what happened after the match that truly ignited the American love story we are talking about today. Alex gave an emotional post-match interview on center court. And I mean genuinely emotional, her voice breaking as she tried to hold back tears while talking about what this moment meant to her, about reaching the second week of a Grand Slam for the very first time in her career. And that raw, unfiltered authenticity is exactly the kind of moment that transcends sport entirely. It is not about forehands or backhands in that instant. It is about a young woman standing in one of the most historic and storied venues in the entire world, completely overwhelmed by the magnitude of her own journey. And that kind of authenticity resonates with people everywhere, especially with young girls who see her and think that they too can dare to dream something big. And this is precisely the point where her fan base stopped being a regional phenomenon centered around Southern California's Filipino community and became something much bigger, something genuinely global, something that absolutely includes a rapidly growing American audience who may have had no prior connection to Filipino heritage at all. They simply saw a compelling, genuine, talented young athlete having the moment of her life, and they wanted to be part of that story going forward. Alex herself has spoken about what this platform means to her, and she said something that I think perfectly captures why people are so drawn to her. She said it is the honor of her life to be an inspiration to others. That inspiration is such a beautiful thing, and that she tries to be as authentic as she can because she genuinely believes in being real, and she genuinely believes in her values, and that this platform has allowed her to reflect and become the best version of herself because she knows so many people look up to her. That is not manufactured public relations speak. That is a young athlete who genuinely understands the responsibility and the incredible opportunity in front of her. And audiences can always tell the difference between a scripted answer and a real one. And every single interview Alex gives leans hard toward the real one. Her Wimbledon fairy tale eventually came to an end in the fourth round against Jasmine Paolini, a tough three-set battle that finished 4-6, 6-4, 3-6. And while the loss obviously stung in the moment, the bigger picture tells a story of monumental achievement rather than disappointment. Think about what she accomplished in that tournament alone. She became the first Filipina in the Open era to reach a Grand Slam round of 16. She became the first Filipina to ever be seeded at any of the four majors. And her run at Wimbledon propelled her to a brand new career high ranking of world number 28, breaking into that top 32 range, which carries real practical significance because it virtually guarantees her seeded status at future Grand Slam tournaments and could even earn her first-round buys at selected WTA events going forward. A privilege she already benefited from earlier this year at the BNP Paribas Open in California when she skipped the opening round after climbing to a career best ranking of number 29. And here is where the financial side of the story becomes relevant too, because advancing to the round of 16 at Wimbledon comes with real substantial rewards. Alex pocketed around £300,000, which translates to roughly 25 million pesos, eclipsing her previous career high prize money mark. And that kind of financial milestone matters because it reflects just how dramatically her career has climbed in such a remarkably short period of time. So, where does all of this lead for the American audience specifically? Because that is really the heart of what we are talking about today. With her confidence sitting at an all-time high after this historic Wimbledon showing, Alex is now shifting her focus directly toward the North American hard court swing. And this is where American fans are going to get their best chance yet to see her in person and build on that connection that started at Indian Wells all those months ago. She is set to compete at the Mubadala City DC Open in Washington running from July 27th through August 2nd. And the field she is walking into is absolutely stacked with star power because defending champion Leylah Fernandez and Jasmine Paolini are headlining alongside home favorite Madison Keys, alongside Naomi Osaka of Japan, alongside Marta Kostyuk of Ukraine, and alongside rising American talent Emma Navarro. Think about that lineup for a second. This is not a minor tournament where Alex will be an afterthought buried in an outer court schedule. This is a major American hard court event with some of the biggest names in the sport. And Alex Eala is walking in as a legitimate top 30 player with fresh momentum from one of the most talked about Grand Slam runs of the entire season. If you are an American tennis fan who has never watched her play before, this DC Open is going to be your introduction. And if the buzz coming out of Wimbledon is any indication, you are going to want to pay very close attention, because Alex Eala plays with a style that is genuinely fun to watch. Aggressive at the net, confident on her ground strokes, and completely unafraid of the moment no matter how big the occasion gets. And for anyone in